Let's see. Michael from Overland Park, Kansas. Over the past few weeks, there has been various talk of video game embargoes, specifically around how certain conditions are laid out and how they are structured. As an example, I would assume some embargoes would mention generically up front, don't talk about what happens in the third act, while a different section would specifically say, don't talk about how at the end so-and-so lives while so-and-so dies. I was wondering if you could talk about how embargoes are presented and worded beyond a lot of the commonly discussed items, like when a review can go live or I can't talk about this until next Friday. Also not sure if you have to sign an NDA for each embargo or how that works, but would it be possible to read through an old embargo? I don't know about that. Even if it were for an older game like Bioshock Infinite, I think it would be interesting to hear those details.
I don't even know if we have, that stuff's long gone.
Yes, as mentioned, the corporate email retention policy probably makes that impossible at this point.
But in general, I do have some printed stuff that I've...
Yeah, and I mean, we've got recent ones, obviously, but I mean, that's a little bit too inside baseball, potentially.
It's most of the time you don't sign anything. Most of the time, especially for so I got the information for the Stadia thing that they did this morning. And that's just an email saying like, hey, we want to give you details about the Stadia thing. That it can't run until this time. If you just reply and say that you agree to that, and I will fill you in on the details.
Just a verbal email, I agree type thing is a lot of times that's the only commitment you make.
Yeah. So you just respond to say yes. And then
a lot of times you don't even need to do that. Like they just there's some language in there like receipt of this review copy implies agreement with blah 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 or something like that.
Yeah, and some of that stuff, like you'll get like news stories for things that just I can't even remember, like just the most inconsequential things of just like these are not games we're not going to cover like this at all, and they'll send it out and be like, hey, don't talk about this until the 14th, but we're changing this part of this free to play game. You just look at it and go like, I don't care enough about this embargo to break it, let alone report on it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, okay, all right, thanks. Like, there's a lot of stuff where they'll just send you the thing, and not say and not require an agreement of any kind.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of that stuff, like I think the language around a lot of it, like some companies get more specific. There have been some companies that require, real signatures and, you have to pack stuff back or scan it or whatever.
Couple three companies that definitely love getting actual signatures on stuff.
Yeah. One company has switched to like Google Forms.
Yes.
In recent history, for that sort of stuff that come with a bunch of check boxes where you re-acknowledge like, yes, the terms of this, I understand. And I think that's actually like a pretty decent way to do it.
Yeah. I think in my memory, it's probably been about 10-ish years. I think it was kind of like halfway through the 360 that embargoes started coming with a bunch of story spoilers they didn't want you to mention. I don't think that really happened in the PS2 era so much, did it?
No, I mean, there was like MGS2.
Sure.
There was Halo 2.
Yeah, I guess there were. Yeah. But it started becoming pretty common, like in the 360 generation, I think, of just like, here's a fat, like 8 bullet point list of like specific plot points from this game that you haven't played yet that we don't want to talk about. And if you happen to glance at that list, you know most of what's going to happen in the game.
I think the thing that a lot of companies have gotten better at that they used to be bad about is just listing that full list right up front and saying, don't talk about, and then list of every story beat in the game.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, fuck, I was about to play this game, and now you've gone and told me everything about everything in the game.
A lot of them have gotten a lot better about obfuscating what the nature of that stuff is
on the page and being general about it.
So it'll be like do not talk about the fate of X as opposed to do not mention that X dies or whatever.
Which is like not hey. They would not say the fate of this specific character unless something happened. So that doesn't actually help.
Yes.
But it's usually like, so how we would handle that is like back in the GameSpot days is like, I would receive all of that stuff. And in cases where I wasn't reviewing the game, I did not send that to anyone. Because they didn't need those details to play the game and review it and turn in a review. And we would get the review back and then go like, oh, well, I would always approach it less from the terms of like the actual embargo agreement and more from just like common sense, like hey, like we don't want to spoil the story beats in great detail for people on any game. So generally speaking, when they spell out all these plot points, unless they're going far, far, far overboard, which a couple of games have tried to embargo things that are just like, these are key points of a game that you would mention in a review, and this is dumb. And I think there have been cases where in the past where we have just said fuck it and included things along those lines, even if it was mentioned in that document.
Or if you really want to like obey the letter of the law, you just wait until the day the game comes out.
Sure.
And then publish a thing that says everything you want to say.
Exactly. Yeah. Or you go back to them and say, hey, these terms, like now that we have played through this game and are like looking to cover it, like these terms are ridiculous. And this kind of needs to be mentioned in a review of the game for it to be a good, responsible review of the game. And I've had that go places where they're like, oh yeah, no, okay, I see what you're getting at. Like, it's not coming from a place of like, we want to run strategy. And I think that's something that gets spelled out a little bit more in embargoes lately is people saying like, don't run strategy videos for the entire game on day one of release. Like, don't run videos that say, here are all the cutscenes from this video game. Yeah. Or like, hey, if you're going to live stream it starting on launch day or whenever the video streaming embargo is up, don't start with your save that's at the end of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Video restrictions have gotten a lot more rigid in the last few years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For sure. That stuff was truly the Wild West for a long time in terms of like what you showed and all the other stuff. And those are the things they think about a lot more in terms of like, hey, don't stream the end of the game on day one, you dumbass, which I think is totally reasonable. I think there are still outlets out there that get so much like YouTube fucking play out of like, here's every fatality in Mortal Kombat.
I watched a bunch of release day streams of Last of Us 2 because that game has some stuff in it that I was just curious to see people react to in real time. Mm-hmm. And the dude who was booking it through that game the fastest, like by the evening of release day, he was 80% of the way through that game or something. Like 50,000 concurrent viewers on Twitch. It's like one of the bigger streams on Twitch. Just because he was the first place that a bunch of people could just sit there and watch the entirety of that game start to finish. And the numbers obviously, paid off.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that stuff's really, I don't know. It's murky. Like I think that when companies try to put weird restrictions on a game post-release, the way Atlas has done at times, where they're like, we don't want you to stream this at all. It's like, okay, that's unrealistic. But at the same time, I think the idea of someone streaming 80% of a story-driven game to an audience that just wants to watch the cutscenes and move on, I think that kind of sucks too. Yeah, and I don't know what the right answer is there. I guess the right answer is like, they can stream it, just don't fucking watch it. Because why would you do that? If you were thinking about play, unless you're like, I'm 100% not going to play this game, which led to me, that's why I watched some of the stuff that leaked, I guess. But I don't know. It's a weirdly murky situation on some of that stuff, and I don't know what. Yeah, like I said, I don't know what the right answer is on what sort of restrictions you put in around that stuff.
Yeah.
You think that the console level restrictions for built-in streaming will change at all next generation?
Oh, I bet they might get more restrictive.
They'll definitely be in there.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll still. I mean, there, if nothing else, there are occasional like legal pages of legalese and like email addresses and stuff you want to block out, like just kind of nuts and bolts stuff.
It doesn't seem like some of that stuff that like prevents you from streaming or recording gets updated, like the longer the game has been released, because I feel like Ben has run into a couple issues, like when lockdown first started, of streaming from his PS4, only to find like, okay, well, we can't stream out this like 5-second screen, and this game has been out.
Yeah. No one goes back and updates that stuff. I don't think.
I feel like there aren't that many games doing that these days because they just know that it's pointless at this point.
And when they do it Square, right? I mean, like
pretty much.
Still Square. Square is still the weirdest when it comes to like Final Fantasy cutscenes and all that other stuff. Or there were times weren't they like games with like built-in, or game when you use the screenshot button, it automatically adds copyright information to the screenshot. I just got an email today. I just got an email today. I am gonna pull this up here, and it was the press release saying, "Hey, Death Stranding is out on PC," and it had a like it's a they sent out a link with some screenshots and some videos or whatever that you could use if you want, like some B-roll basically. There were 4 screenshots, and then there's this note: as a special request from Kojima Productions and 505 Games, we are asking everyone to please use the screenshots in the above link in numerical order 1 through 4, and to not crop the images in any way or remove the legal lines at the bottoms.
Okay.
And then don't put up the B-roll as raw. Just it has to be edited into video coverage, which that's a pretty standard request. Like
Yes.
they don't want the game tapes to be raw.
You don't like that. No raw game tapes.
Yeah, too raw. And the screenshots are like it's a truck. And it's damn near a satellite dish, and it's
got to be in order, man.
It got me to
order.
download the screenshots, which I was not going to. Okay, first one is, and it's of like the Valve specific stuff in the Steam version of the game. So screenshot 1, Sam Porter Bridges looks at that first base where you find the bike that hasn't been powered up. And he's wearing a big back rig that has a portal cube in it.
Okay.
Screenshot 2.
Are you going in order?
Yes. Okay. I'll go in order. Sam Porter Bridges runs towards a satellite dish, and he's wearing some stuff.
Okay.
There's no Valve trademark on this one.
I appreciate that this narration is in the present tense. It makes it feel very active.
Screenshot 3. This one has the Valve thing, the Valve copyright on it. It is Sam Porter Bridges holding some boxes, holding some briefcases, and in the distance is a holographic like Walker from Half-Life.
Huh. Okay.
Sorry, screenshot 4. It's a truck
It's a truck.
Nice.
with the Half-Life Lambda on it.
But it's a legal truck.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Excellent.
There's no. I'm. Hey, look.
Video game marketing is a good time.
I would be curious to know what the thought process was that led to. No, these screenshots need to be used in order. Like the thing of like, hey, don't remove
weird.
copyright information. Like that happens off and on over the years, and is weird. And like I think there's like a built-in thing in every Atlas press release that says do not reverse or crop these images in any way. And it's like just a boilerplate built-in thing with every single Atlas, and now Sega, because I think they started using the same template. No one really cares. No one's really checking for that stuff, as far as I can tell. Not that I've ever cropped an Atlas screen. I don't know. But like for me, the standout part about that is like they need to be run in the right order, and then you look at them and you're like, maybe I'm just not an artist, man. But I'd really like to know like what were the conversations that led to someone saying like, please, if we're going to take these screenshots for you and send them to you for use in the press kit, you must make sure that these screenshots run in the right order.
Look, Kojima invested a lot of creative energy.
He wanted that truck to be the lasting impact.
Like he knew exactly the arc that you would go through.
Half-Life thing in it, and that's not going to be the first one, and it's not going to be the fourth one. Please ensure that they do this. It's
Save the truck for last.
yeah. It looks like some like rock band rider that like they're just doing to make sure you're paying attention, like the old like green M&M trick, or whatever.
Right.
Just weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow.